Also have a U-turn here, which, as many of you know, are affiliated with a lot of Calvary chapels across the country. And so we thought, Keith is the executive director of U-Turn Pennsylvania. We have a women's ranch upstate, a men's ranch right here, and the thought that if you know more about it, you might refer people here, but even more than that, that you might consider starting a U-Turn yourselves. So at this point, let me just introduce Keith Maxey, the executive director of U-Turn Pennsylvania. Keith, come on up.
Thank you, Pastor. Thank you very much. I won't take much of your time. I just want to share real quick about our vision and the opportunity to be able to get information. If you have anybody in your congregations, men or women struggling with addiction, or you're interested in maybe starting your own U-Turn at your church. U-Turn for Christ, for those of you who don't know, is not a rehab. We are a discipleship ministry for men and women struggling with addiction. And we don't even necessarily believe that the addiction, the drugs, the alcohol, the sexual addiction is the source of the problem, but that's a byproduct of an unhealthy relationship with God or no relationship with God. So what we actually do, we don't address addiction, we raise disciples, we raise soldiers. We do 3 Bible studies a day. Derek, if you could start going through some of the pictures as I'm sharing here. We do 3 Bible studies a day, and then we're at church every night of the week, or somebody comes and teaches at a pastor or an elder from a church and come and teaches our men and women. First phase is 60 days. These men are up at 5:30. They do morning devotions. They're in the Word, and then we serve in the community. We clean churches. We basically are in this church 3, 4, 5 days a week, cleaning, serving, tearing down events, help set up this event. And then we also serve in the food pantry. So we help feed the homeless. We help hand out groceries. And then we do a lot for the elderly. So basically the vision is the Word of God, prayer, worship, and hard work. So these men and women, they serve throughout the week. And then it's not an easy program because we remove all distractions from that relationship with God, both good and bad distractions. This is our women's facility. It's a 100-acre farm out in Selden's Grove. Both men's facilities here are owned by the church. So our relationship, this is a leaders conference in Mexico that we go to once a year. Our relationship with the pastors and with Calvary is they ask us to jump, we ask them how high. We get free food from them. We don't pay rent for these facilities, so we don't charge a dime to serve, and everything's worked off of donations. Just to share real quickly, and these are just some of the events we do at the men and women. I'm from the West Coast. That's why I'm improperly dressed this morning. But we are in the business of raising soldiers. And the byproduct of that, in the last 9 years since I've been here, I've seen over 1,500 men and women come in and out of our program. Hundreds have been set free. Hundreds are now walking with the Lord, sent out to help other U-turns, start U-turns, and dozens serving in this church alone. Some have gone on to be pastors, missionaries. We take them to the Philippines. This is our women's facility. Why don't we real quickly go through the rest of the pictures? This is a wedding we did. This couple came in 8 years ago, the Glatzes, and now him and his wife are the directors of our women's facility. And I think I might have, and this is just a leadership, that's one of our assistant pastors. His wife is actually the director of the women's shelter here at the church. So if you have any questions, I have brochures. I'd be honored to talk to you, whether you want to think about starting a U-turn or you have somebody that you think needs help in your church. We'd be more than honored to be a part of helping them and pointing them to Jesus. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Keith. Yeah, and Keith will be around for a little bit. If you want to talk to Keith, please do. Also, I'm pleased to introduce Paul Virts at this time. He's going to be talking about station branding. And as I said, Paul brought us from the 1600s into the 21st century. And what a difference. I listen to the station now and I think, what a difference in quality, in the branding, just everything. So Paul has made God has used Paul to make a huge difference in this, in our program. So please, a warm welcome for Paul Virts.
Thank you so much, Tom. I was just saying to Tom, following Carol is, I don't know, we kind of moved from the sublime to the mundane, but what we're going to talk about in branding is important. It's important inviting people in to your radio station. So I just wanted to throw up a few pieces of branding from various stations, not only stations, but also in the lower left, you see Truth for Life, the Alistair Begg, which we carry and others carry, I'm sure, as well. Well, let me jump into this really quickly and just give you some background. I used to be a university professor, and I can start teaching really quickly. What I decided today is let's do just a little bit of that, but let's spend more time telling you a story, and we'll get to that in just a minute. So some of the standard statements about what is a brand. A brand is a set of expectations, memories, stories, and relationships that taken together account for a consumer's decision to choose one product or service over another, one station over another, one program over another. Seth Godin is someone who's influenced some of my thinking, but pretty standard kind of textbook definition. Jeff Bezos from Amazon, a brand for a company is like a reputation for a person. You earn reputation by trying to do hard things well. And I think we should also say over a long period of time, because again, as it indicates here, our brand is not something that we put together a logo and that becomes it. It's something that is developed over time. Warren Buffett, it takes 20 years to build a reputation and 5 minutes to ruin it. And I think we've all seen examples of that in ministry. It's terribly sad when it happens, but it does happen. So just a couple of things, and I want to put a perspective around this, because this is not just a standard secular presentation on branding. It has elements, but I want to put a framework around it. Branding includes all the ways we as stations and programs. Now, our focus is going to be a lot on stations, but also programs to enhance our listeners' understanding of and response to what we do. That is our mission, but just as importantly, why we do it. I mentioned the other day when Chuck Finney was with us on Monday that a couple of people that we both respect highly talk about the fact that so often in radio we want to talk about what we do radio, but what really resonates with people is why do you do it? And this man who's not a Christian is beating up on secular stations saying, look, these Christians have figured it out. They know, they have a why. Well, I think we know why, because of the vision God has called. But I want you to look at that last phrase, all for God's glory. This is not for our glory. Coca-Cola wants you to see their brand. Why? To pad their bottom line, and so you will drink more of their products. Okay, that's not, we're not the end, and I want to bring up that point just for a minute. Now, realizing, according to a lot of people have studied these things, that our brand exists in listeners' perceptions of us and of our ministries, not necessarily what we intend. So we might say, oh, we're all about hope, or we're all, you put the value in there, but if our programming does not reflect that, then we've got a problem. And what the listeners see is what they're looking at, or what they're perceiving, even if it doesn't match what our intentions are. We hope that they do. But okay, so this is a kind of a final point here. Our branding is not intended to be an end in itself. With branding, we draw attention to our stations and programs so we can point people to Jesus. In that last statement, we are a pass-through, not a destination. People come to our radio stations, but what is our purpose? to point them to Jesus. So I think that's really important, and this is what sets branding for Christian radio aside from branding for secular radio or secular programs as well. Okay, those are some background ideas. Just another slide or two to give you some standard reasons why branding is important. It tells listeners who you are and what you do and why. It should, that is. But let me focus on that last point. It provides a framework for storytelling. And if your brand, for example, hope, we're talking a bit this morning, Carol was talking and Bill's talked about, hope is so important. So when we have people responding to our programming and they reflect back, you have given me hope, all of a sudden you're going, it got through. So it gives you a framework for telling stories about what God is doing through the ministry. It sets your radio station or program apart from all others. That's important in some ways we'll talk about. It helps build trust and credibility, provided, of course, we deliver on what we are promising to our listeners. If we promise hope and our programming doesn't reflect it, then we are not delivering on the promise of the brand. And that's why we have to constantly say, how are we doing? Are we really fulfilling the promises that our brand makes? And another very important thing, it coordinates all of our marketing efforts to give them a consistent look in all environments. And I was just talking to Ron a little while ago, and he was giving the example for them. I mean, it's just, and we'll talk a little bit about one of the key elements of branding when we get through it, but it was an example of how to really do it and do it well. For those stations that rely on payments or shared revenue from program producers, it is essential for income attribution. And this is where I used to focus a lot on until I got studying and thinking, there's a whole lot more to branding and the purpose than just income attribution. But it is important, especially if you're carrying programs who are tracking your revenue. I think it was, I was on Monday, or well, whatever, the days are melting into each other, but Robert was talking about when he goes to the national religious broadcasters, he sits down with the folks from Truth for Life with Alistair Begg, and they show him, here's how much money that has come in from your listeners. We just want to show you that, and because we want you to be accountable just like we want to be accountable. So this whole notion of income attribution, it's kind of a mundane thing, but it's really important because some of those programmers will say, you know what, we're paying you all this and we're just not getting much back in return, and so they're trying to be good stewards of their resources just like all of us want to be. So these are just some general background points as to why branding is important. And now, so what I want to walk you through is our story, how we went about kind of rebranding the radio network and why we had to do that. And we'll give you some of the background on that. But sometimes it's a lot easier to learn something from a story than it is just a straight old conceptual kind of lecture. So it'll be framed within what we have done. And my hope is that there's something in here you can grab a piece and say, we'd really like to try that. So let me tell you where we started. We had, this was some of the branding you would see in various places. Truth FM, the service of Calvary Chapel, Lebanon. We've had, again, we've got 93.1 is the low power, and then we've got the other signals for the translators. And when 93.1 was by itself, you'll see a real close tie-in with Calvary Chapel of Lebanon. Well, then things changed. Thanks to our brother Bob Moore, we were able to acquire 2 new signals in this area. one just outside of right at the upper edge of actually in another county, but close enough. And then up in Hazleton, about an hour and a half away. And then, because of a friend who came to a Calvary Chapel radio conference who ran a radio station in Oregon, and he came first to Bill, and then he came to Tom and said, I've got a Christian radio station that was started by Calvary Chapel station up in Oregon. I can't manage it anymore. I would like to give it to you. I'm saying give it to you. By the way, with a bank account. That doesn't happen very often. So now all of a sudden, we've got 4 radio stations, 7 translators. How do we go about branding this new entity that we have? So as long as 93.1 was by itself, this was okay. But now it's just bigger and it's different. So what we started to do then, as I indicate here, is just kind of one by one considering the elements of good branding for the individual stations and the network, and we had to work sort of both sides. Okay, so I'm going to break this down into 7 steps, 7 different elements, if you will, of good branding. The first one is the program or station name. You want it to convey the values that you are trying to get across, the reputation we desire. This is what we want our listeners to think about us when they think about our radio station. So therein lies the importance of selecting a name that allows you to convey that value. But notice that second thing. I'm going to hit this again. It provides a framework for storytelling about your brand. And as I said, if you're talking about, for us, truth, then how are we going to use that in telling stories about what God is doing through the radio ministry? Well, so we started, okay, what our name? What are we going to call ourselves? Well, I've been calling it Truth from day one. And I came in, I really started working about 3 years ago with the radio, well, more 4 or 5 years ago. The whole Truth moniker was there, and it's been there for years. So I'm not going to blow that up and say, let's just start something totally new. The challenge with the word truth is, oh my goodness, the stuff that's been packed around it now. Because you have your truth, I have my truth. This is what our world tells us. So it's like, And then along comes our president and decides to create something called Truth Social. It's like, oh my goodness. So you can begin to see some of the challenges we were wrestling with. How do we message around this in order to help people understand who we are? By the way, you'll notice a capital T on truth. Trump, by the way, has all capital letters, all right, which that's his style. But we at least wanted to put the T, a capital T of truth, and of course that's a reference to the truth of Scripture. Once we now had the 4 stations, what are we going to call this entity? And we call it Truth Media Network. Why did we pick media instead of radio? Because we see the future moving beyond just radio. Radio is important, but into digital media and so forth. So we really want people to see that this is a network. This isn't just a simple radio station or a bunch of radio stations. Now, what I've done is gone out and just grabbed a couple of logos from some other teaching stations. This was the one where I used to work, Faith Radio, out of the Minneapolis-St. Paul area in Minnesota. And again, I had Hope FM. And just to tie in with the Apostle Paul, he said, these 3 things we have, what? Faith, hope, and love. Okay, I threw Caleb in here. I don't know if there are other radio stations with talk and teaching format that have love. I thought I'd throw it in. So we're very biblical now. Faith, hope, and love, okay? All right, moving beyond that, a second element that's really critical, as I think we've all discovered, is just putting one's frequency in there. Why? Immediate trial. Look on television. Look at these ads they're running on television. You have to go someplace to find that product. You can't try it because it's out there. But when we put our frequencies on with our station, if you will, the moniker, the name, people can try it immediately, and we just heard stories about that already. So what we've done is we're just calling ourselves Truth 93.1. Now, we decided early on that when you put a decimal point in a radio frequency, everybody knows what. It's an FM. So I don't have to say FM. To me, it's redundant. Now you may disagree, and that's okay. But we felt like it was redundant for us, so we didn't need to say Truth FM 93.1, just Truth 93.1. Again, trying to simplify, and that's one of the things we'll talk about here in terms of branding. Okay, so we've got a name, we've got a frequency, and what's the next thing? Well, a graphic to attract attention, to create interest. This is one thing that many, many brands use. And for Christian radio, I've been fortunate, blessed, I should say, to be working in Christian radio for 30 years in one way or another. Well, you find a lot of graphics that are pretty standard in Christian radio stations. A tower in some form, this is, of course, a drawing of it, a microphone. But we were going, okay, that's just kind of standard. Does that really stand out? We go, I don't know. Anyway, there's some other things. Bibles often show up in logos. A cross will show up in logos, maybe a cross merged in with a tower, a drawing, something like that. And you saw earlier in the logo that I showed you, we had a dove in there as well. And all three of those, the Bible, the cross, the dove, of course, are very strong symbols in Christian circles. But we said, can we do something that's a little different from what the standard Christian station or program might be working. So we began to experiment and look for different possibilities of ways to do that. And one of our designers came up with this design. We thought, oh, that is interesting. We've got earbuds. Now, one of the challenges that I've always had with the towers in the transmitter, or in the microphones, is that it's kind of old, especially those microphones. We don't have microphones, we don't use many like that anymore. But it kind of felt old to us. So we said, what can we do that's a little more modern, if you will, and to invite people in to listen. And when the designers came up with this idea of putting earbuds, and they attached them to either end of the Truth Media Network. We thought, isn't that interesting? Because when we use towers and microphones, it talks about what we do to talk to you. This one's like, ooh, it's a different, what we call a camera angle. I know we're in a different medium, but a different camera angle. Now it's like, how does the listener listen to us? How about through earbuds? Now, we have, of course, the old picture of a woman at her kitchen table sitting with an old-fashioned radio with her notepad out taking notes. And that's the way it used to be. It's probably not happening a lot anymore. So we really like this idea. It's like, oh, that's fresh. That's a different way of looking at what we're doing. So then we decided, well, that's kind of a spread out format. What can we do to create something that has a similar feel to it for our individual stations? So what we've kind of morphed into using sort of the combination of the earbuds with wires and headphones. And again, try to get a nice modern version of what the headphones look like. And so the whole idea is, how can we attract some attention in ways that maybe some others are not? And God bless them if they use those, but we wanted to do something just a little different that set it apart. And one of the things we wanted to do is convey to listeners, we want you to hear. And this was intended to be kind of an invitation into listening to our radio stations. So we have that Truth 93.1. We've got all the stations have versions of this particular headphone graphic, and then and we'll talk a little bit about some of the other applications in a few minutes. The color palette. Often colors are associated with a particular brand. Coca-Cola is red, and you can go on down the line with all kinds of, I own a John Deere tractor, a little one. It's all green, okay? They're standard green. I think it's called John Deere green. If you have another kind of tractor, sorry. But at any rate, so we said, let's get a consistent color palette. So we've selected these three colors for our color palette, and we're using them pretty consistently. And Ron was giving me a perfect example before. That green he has, which I don't really like that kind of green. I like a darker green, but everybody, or so many people in their Myrtle Beach market, they associate that color with the station because everything, the swag is colored. When they go out and do events, banners, everything has that color. So that's an important element in branding, to have a color scheme, a color palette that you use and you use regularly. Now, another one of the elements that we were looking at was a tagline. Now, if you saw that earlier version of our old logos, the tagline was a service of Calvary Chapel, Lebanon. That's great for 93.1, that's local. 88.1 is right out on the edge, but it's sort of northwest or northeast of us a bit. I don't know, as the crow flies, Derek, was it 30 miles or so? It's in another county, but okay, that's not too bad. People could drive in to the church. But now we've got a station up in Hazleton, which is an hour and a half away. And we've got a station in Oregon, which is across the continent. It's like, oh my goodness, how can we, just by putting that a service of Calvary Chapel, Lebanon, just doesn't mean much to these folks. So then we began to really say, okay, what do we do? What's our mission? What our vision? And the result of that kind of thinking is we came up with a very simple tagline: life-changing Bible teaching 24/7. That's it. We decided not to use verse by verse, chapter by chapter, book by book, which is well used all across. And we'll do that, but we don't have to say that in here. And we wanted to be really, really succinct. So what do? What our mission is Bible teaching. Why do we do what we do? It's life-changing. And the result is we're able to talk then about how God is changing people's lives through, and that ties into truth, because it is the preaching of God's word that leads to life change. So you can see how those are all kind of tied together to create a relatively simple statement of the network. And then the stations all have this kind of configuration with that life-changing Bible teaching 24/7. 24/7 says it's available everywhere. Kevin, one of our tech guys, was showing me the stats from our online stream. We have people listening in Germany and Japan, and you just never know where it's going around the world. Once it gets up in a digital form on the web, it's available to anybody. So we began to work through that, the whole question of the tagline. And again, it's very purposefully directed toward mission and vision, because that's what we really want to get across to people. Okay, now, I love where I used to work. One of the people, when I left, she said, one of the things I admire most about you, not the only thing, one of the things I admire most is that you're willing to go off into other areas of life and look for interesting ideas. And I won't give you all the examples I used to use, but this is one I really love. Old Dominion Freight Line. And you go, that's a trucking company. What does that have to do with us? Well, apparently, as they were building their branding, they sat down, and I'm just guessing what they did. They sat down with the people at Old Dominion, maybe an advertising agency, and said, so what do your customers expect from you? Well, they expect their freight to come in good shape, okay? They expect you to deliver it when you say you're going to deliver it. So what they did is they came up with this wonderful little tagline, helping the world keep promises. And I thought, wow, that is just, you talk about just kind of one click off of what we do. Yeah, that we want to deliver it in good shape. We want to deliver it on time, because when we deliver it to our customers, they have customers, and they want this. We want to make promises to them. We'll do the same thing. I love this. I've used this for years, and I drive down the road. I see all kinds of trucking firms use the word quality in it, but this, to me, this just stands out. I go, wow, and I hope they keep their promises. But they say they are anyway. Okay, but that's part of what I was talking about earlier. Is we have a brand promise, what we're promising people. Okay, then, so we're now working on different elements. So it's not just the logo that's important, but it's everything else we do. And you'll see upgrading the quality and consistency of our on-air programming. Now, we all know, and this is true in all forms of radio, you don't own most of the content. Most of the content is owned by your programs, by music producers, or whatever. So what do we do? Well, it's what we do in the 4 minutes every half hour around it that we have some control over. So our service elements, underwriting announcements, and so forth. So those are things that we can focus on, and our as we're producing our programming and trying to build a solid brand. Now I'm going to see if I can get this to play just right. I'm going to show you just what we've done with our legal.
This is WLEBLP 93.1 Lebanon, a ministry of Truth Media Network.
Derek just had to step away, so Kevin, can you?
This is WLEBLP 93.1 Lebanon, a ministry of Truth Media Network.
Okay. What I've got is we branded all of our legal IDs, and I'm not going to play all these because our time is running short here. Where's I got another one? Okay. I'm just going to let those go. But we have the legal IDs at the top of the hour, at the bottom of the hour. Our sponsorship announcements are all branded. I don't know why I've got a touch screen here and it's not pulling it up. Okay, well, All right, I'm gonna move along. But what we've got, the 93.1 is on all of our sponsorship announcements. It's on. We even have a spot that we've produced, and thank people for listening and supporting the station. And then we go on to say, in case you decide to give to any of the programs that we carry on the station, just remember to tell them you're listening to 93.1. Why? That's all for income attribution for those programs that are paying for airtime or sharing revenue, so they can track their income and then report back to us what kind of response they're getting from our listeners. So. Okay, these are all the time checks, the weathercast. Our friend Gary in the back here has done a lot of engineering work for us, records those for us. We're so grateful for those. There's the giving ID, and then we had a sponsor, radio sponsor spot in here. And again, it's all branded toward that. Derek, can okay.
We want to thank B.R. Kreider and Son Incorporated for partially sponsoring today's programming on Truth 93.1. A family-owned company serving the Lancaster, Lebanon area for 90 years, B.R. Kreider and Son Incorporated specializes in residential and commercial paving, excavating, and concrete services. More information at 717-898-7651 or brkreider.com. That's brkreider.com. B.R. Kreider and Son Incorporated supports life-changing Bible teaching on Truth 93.1.
Please join B.R. Kreider and Son Incorporated in supporting the life-changing ministry of Truth 93.1. Make your gift today by logging online at truthmedianetwork.org. That's truthmedianetwork.org. Thank you.
By the way, all of our underwriters we now tag at the very end. And it's our tag. We have a different voice. We usually have a male voice do the announcement, and then a female voice do the tag. Or we'll switch them around depending, just to add some variety to it. But we add it, we tell the sponsors, we want you to encourage other people to support the station as well, not just you. And that's why we give them, in the tag, we're able to have a call to action, which is not in the sponsorship announcement to meet FCC requirements. Okay, so real quickly, we're consistency, quality and consistency of our print marketing. And again, for the network, we want to promote the network to program producers. We also have our website, one website for all 4 stations. And so we use this particular branding on the website and in our promotion to program producers. But also for our local stations, again, we have we haven't started implementing all this yet because it's fairly new. Billboards, and to our underwriters, we want them to hear about Truth 93.1. Why? Because that's the market they're in. That's where their customers are. So that's where we push Truth 93.1. Our bumper stickers, our yard signs, you'll see they're simple. We've taken the tagline off because bumper stickers and yard signs, there's so little space and people attend to them so in such a short period of time. We just want to get through the main thing, but yet still have the consistency of branding as well. So those are some of the things that we are doing to try to help people know who we are, what we do, and why we do it. And I'm just let me just give a shout out to our team. I talked about 2 new stations that we added. Our tech, Derek, was very, very instrumental in that, and working with Gary. Both these 2 guys have a good background in engineering, so they helped us put those stations on the air. Kevin is now backing up Derek, helping Derek not only with things on the radio, but Derek has a lot of responsibilities at the church as well. So all this branding journey, if you will, that we've gone on comes about because we're all working together. And one of the things I really appreciate is that Tom, wasn't so insistent that the way he used to do things, we continue to do things, because we now recognized we have a whole different, I was going to use the term animal, but we have a whole different thing to a network. We have a network now, not just a local station, and we really got to figure out ways to go it. So we are grateful for all members of the team. We're grateful for Bob Moore, who found the 2 new frequencies for us and helped us with all the technology side of that. So let me just then close with a couple of comments, then we'll have some time for some questions. For overall branding, there's just one word repeated 3 times: consistency, consistency, consistency. And what happens quite often is that someone will come up with a new idea. Oh, let's do this. And then off we go. And over time, pretty soon, you've got a hodgepodge of things that you're trying to do. But that consistency, as we were talking about, Ron mentioned consistency of color, advertising, marketing, and so forth. It's so easy to get taken off script and dilute your branding. The second thing is particularly for logos: simplicity, simplicity, simplicity. We had a temptation to put all of our frequencies in here, and we're going, no, that is so much. It's overwhelming to people. So let's just boil it down to what absolutely needs to be there: a name, frequency, a graphic device, and that tagline. Let's just keep it really simple, because as we showed, a lot of the elements, we have to be careful we don't get too much, don't want to jam too much in, particularly with the logo. It's really critical to keep those simple. Okay, so in summary, a name that conveys values, your reputation, frequency, how you can find us, a graphic to attract attention and invite listeners to listen so that we can point them to the gospel, your color palette, your tagline, on-air branding, and then finally our print marketing that's really away from the on-air. So the question is, so how are you doing? Is anything missing? Okay, now we're going to have some time for questions. I thought I saw Ron with the microphone, so, okay, all right. Go ahead, yes, yeah.
I'm coming.
There's Ron, okay, I didn't see him, sorry.
Our station is low power.
Yes.
And so we're limited on the distance, and Florida's spread out. The people that come to our church in the areas are spread out. And even though we're going to try to get some translators and improve on that, a lot of times we're listening on our .com through our phone, on the radio in our car. And so I didn't see anything regarding a .com or how do you, without being too much information, trying to keep it short and sweet, and trying to have a website, trying to have, the FM or radio numbers or WRDJ.com.
Yeah. Yeah, and this is one of the things they said. We've been into this process for about 1.5 years or 2 years, and we're continuing to develop those. I don't know if you heard, but on the tag that we have, the fundraising tag, if you will, at the end of the sponsors, there you have truthmedianetwork.org. And so we're trying to at least encourage people to go to the website, and that these are run throughout the day. We've said we have other spots that we run with the website address on there. So, and it has to be .org because .com belongs to somebody else. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, but on your spots you run those, right? I mean, most of our top of the line has WXMBFM.com. I mean, that's just normal. But we used to, I think I need to tell New Line to do a new spot about that, but especially LPFM. is that a liner something like this, if you leave our radio network, this is a great way to go online and pick it up, stream it on your phone. I need to get back to that, so that's a great reminder because of LPFM. You leave our listening area, please go online. What do you do that? Yeah.
Yeah, I just try to frame everything in the positive. So not you leave our listening area, and wherever you go outside of Miami, listen when you download our free app or go to godswayradio.com.
And we're seeing increased activity on our online, and so that's we're grateful for that.
Yeah, we're so spread out where we are. People drive 45 minutes to come to CCMB. That's why the translators hopefully will be good for us. But our station only goes 20 miles flat, so yeah.
We say WRDJ 93.5 FM and WRDJ.com worldwide. That's something else we say. Yeah.
Worldwide.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's good.
Any other comments, questions?
By the way, if you want information on yard signs by bulk, we'll put it up on the list server so you guys can find them. They run deals all of the time for yard signs, and you get to design it on the site. So you pick the color, pick the font, but I will say this about yard signs. By the way, Paul, I like yours. Number really big, very little information. 1015, right? That's us. 1015. It's ginormous on the yard sign. And then it says right underneath, wxmbfm.com. That's it. So, but those guys run deals all of the time for yard signs. So you can get 50, get the stakes, put them into the church, and free. Hand them to the church for free so they can get them. Put them in the businesses. I cannot tell you enough that yard signs are like on the top, easy. That's low-hanging fruit for you guys. So.
The spot that we heard, the sponsor spot, is that produced in-house or by the sponsorship spot? Is it produced in-house or out?
No, we have gone to outside production, and the same production house has done all of our station IDs.
Yes.
And does just about everything.
That's branding.
Yes.
Because it's the same kind of sound.
Yep.
We do not do in-house either. If I need to do a spot for anybody, in fact, I just got a text. My wife said, the dance studio needs to do something as soon as I get back to record. I will send that to production. They will do it because I want it to sound the same every time. Yeah. So send it to John, and he will do it, and it sounds great. And he charges you what, Derek, 25? Not even that.
No,
not even that.
I know the deal. Yeah.
There you.
$30.
Yeah.
30. I mean, John Hayes is amazing.
Yeah.
But
we've been using John the entire time.
It goes back to that whole matter of consistency.
Yeah.
Consistency. Even when we will record, we're getting ready to record in the next, probably the next week. Tom's going to record 2 new radio testimonies that we had come in. Tom will record them here with Derek. I send it to John, say, hey, John, run it through your mixer, because we now have established a level of what the sound level is and what the sound quality is. And so we send it off, and he runs it through his mixer and sends it back to us and charges us, I don't know, it's $20.
Yeah.
It's not
and
much.
you can ask for female voices, too. I often do that.
Yes.
You know that. You got to do male and female. And that really helps, but ask John to do that. Switch it up, and he'll do that for you.
I think what we ask him to do is all of our top of the hour legal IDs are voiced by a woman's voice, and all the bottom hour are by men, by a male voice. So, yeah, and he puts music with it, and
and that's on the Calvary Ministry site that lists all the programs. It says John's New Life production.
I said this before, but at a different session, don't forget about bumper stickers. 90% of your listenership will be in a car, and if they see a bumper sticker on a car in front of them, they'll tune to that number. The number is big. A slogan is important, something like the frequency of heaven, but that's it. Just get their attention and give them the number to dial to.
Yeah, and so that's why our bumper stickers and the yard signs will have the numbers big, because again, it's immediate trial. And so many advertisers would kill to be able to have people try their product right there. Because what happens, people see those ads like on TV and they forget about stuff. But with the yard signs and the bumper stickers, try it. Just tune in right there.
And do your best. I know it depends on your market. I say this all the time, billboard, billboard, billboard. Depending on your market, we were blessed to be able to get on this almost 10 years ago, and they gave us a second. It's digital, of course, and everybody's market's different. We just happen to get a really good rate. So we have WXMB, 8 seconds, and then it slides again, and it's Calvary Chapel, Myrtle Beach. I told Paul, they advertise a strip club on the same billboard.
Love it.
Do you hear me? That's huge. So the digital boards cost less than the static boards. You guys have used static in the past, but digital, if you can get a digital, and if you could go to them and say that you're a nonprofit, please help us, perhaps. But I'm literally on a billboard that is just what is it, Christian, like a strip mall. It was a huge thing, and they have a sign. It's not Lamar. It's not Clear Channel. It's just that guy bought, $150,000 digital sign, and I went to him immediately and said, how much will it cost to be on there? And because he started out, he didn't really know. So we got it for $500. So you never know. So those digital boards are all over now. People just buy them, they put them up, but it's not Clear Channel or Lamar. It's other groups that are doing that. Get on that one.
I'm aware of one digital board in the Lebanon. So are there more, Derek? I know the one on 72. Yeah. Anyway, yeah. Go ahead.
We also get on a digital board, but not in that regard, because of our broadcasting of football, high school football in the fall. We get the local library and local gas stations that have their own digital boards to put for free on there, and it helps get the word out for the whole fall season.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions? Ask Paul after. It is 11:15. So you have 15 minutes. Come back for the last session with Brad Huddleston, and that will be at 11:30. I'm leaving. My team is leaving. Lord bless you guys. Thank you for serving in radio. The King will be pleased